Hi everyone, it's Camille. I'm the author of the books The Thigh Gap Hack, Bye Bye Thunder Thighs, How to Lose Water Weight, and my latest book coming out in 1 week, The Oil-Free Diet. Today I'm here to talk to you about riding your bike and preventing bulky legs while doing so. A lot of you have concerns about riding your bikes or attending spinning classes and noticing that your legs start to bulk up, the quads start to get really tight and muscular. There is a way that you can ride your bike without having that effect, and I'm going to reveal 10 things that you can do today. So the first tip that I have for you is to adjust your seat. Now as you can see here, my seat is a little low. It's very comfortable to ride with the seat lower because when you do so, you can stop at any point in time. However, what you want to do is actually adjust the seat so that it comes up to your iliac crest. Now the iliac crest is the curved superior border of the ilium, the largest of the 3 bones that merge to form the os coxa, or the hip bone. So as you can see here, I've lined up the seat to my iliac crest. So when you put your hands on your hip, you're touching the skin on the top of your hip bone or your iliac crest. And so when you do that and you sit on the bike, which I'm going to do, I forgot to tighten it. When you sit on the bike, you want to make sure that you can extend your leg. As you can see, you can extend your leg fully when you're pedaling, as opposed to having your knee bend when you're turning the wheels or the pedal. Doing so prevents you from having this curved or this bent leg, and that's putting more pressure or more work on your quads and your thighs. That allows the thighs and the quads to bulk up, which you don't want. Now the second tip that I have for you, and this you probably know, is to avoid hills. When you're riding uphill, you're putting a lot of pressure on a lot of work and your quads. And again, we want to avoid working the quads too much, because when you work the quads, you're going to be building up the muscle, you're going to get that bulky effect that you don't want. So if you can, I would recommend looking for a route that avoids hills. You want to stay on flat ground, and if you can't avoid hills, then you don't want to be going up a hill in a large gear. So you want to turn your gear down to the smallest one there is. A low gear means a low resistance. So on my bike here, it would want to be on the first gear, and corresponding on the other side, it should be about 1, 2 to 3. When you're pedaling up the hill, your cadence should be a fast cadence, which would be 70 to 90 revolutions per minute. Your natural speed that when you get on a bike and you're riding on a flat level, you want to try to maintain that when you're going up the hill, and you do so by changing your gear so that you're pedaling faster. You're not grinding up the hill, which is really stressful on those thighs. Now make sure that you're changing your gears before you get to the hills, so that the hill is a lot easier to go up than struggling up the hill and changing the gear while you're in the middle of the hill. Another tip for you is that when you're on the hill, and let's say that you want to stop, you don't want to push off while you're at the top of the hill or while you're still climbing up the hill, because again, you're pushing down, you're putting a lot of strain and stress on the quads, and we don't want to do that. Another thing that you want to make sure is that your pedals, when you're pushing off, is set in this position here. As you can see, it's like in the launching position, so that when you're stepping on it or you're about to pedal, it just goes, as opposed to pushing down. Again, you want to have that easy, smooth takeoff where you're not really putting a lot of pressure on the thighs. The next tip is when you're riding your bike, you don't want to point your toes, because again, you're going to be working your quads more that way. So you want to actually have your feet flat against the pedal every time you make that pedal movement, and that will help to make sure that you're not putting a lot of pressure and a lot of work in your thighs. Another important tip that a lot of people unfortunately don't do is to stretch after you have finished riding your bike. You want to stretch your legs, stretch your quads, stretch your hamstrings, do all of the normal stretches that you will do, you know, like you bend over, touch your toes, stretch your quads, really stretch everything out to the fullest. I would say you want to aim for like 10 minutes of just stretching out those legs afterwards, so that you don't have the short, tight muscles after your ride. Another tip for you is to ride from your abs and instead of your legs. Now, it's common, and I understand, when you're riding you feel like you want to push with your legs, but really you don't want to do that. You want to have a flat back, elbows slightly bent. You don't want to be hunched over, and that will allow you to ride from your abs, from your back, as opposed to depending on your legs. And of course, when you adjust that seat and your leg is more extended every time you turn, that'll enable you to really feel it in your abs and your back and your belly, as opposed to your quads and your hamstrings and your thighs. And this is a big one. Don't eat back those calories. Now, when you ride for a long time, a lot of people tend to get hungry afterwards, and they feel like, okay, I've earned this treat, I've earned this burger, I've earned this highly calorific meal. What really bulks the thighs is fat. And what makes you get fat? Overeating. So you have to really ride your bike as leisure as opposed to exercise. That means not riding like tons of miles every single day. Switch up your routine. And you have to also face the fact that riding your bike as leisure is not going to burn too many calories. What you want to do is, when you finish riding and while you're riding, drink lots of water. What you might be experiencing as thirst, you might be confusing with hunger. So as you drink more water and fill your belly up, you'll be less inclined to go and just scarf down a meal as soon as you finish riding. But the final tip, and this one is a biggie, is bike maintenance. You want to maintain your bike. It's just like a car, and once you maintain it, or the more you maintain it, the easier it'll be to ride your bike. You want to have enough air in your wheel. You don't want the wheel to be flat, because the less air that's in it, the harder it's going to be for you to, especially if you're going up the hills, it's going to be hard for you to go up the hills or just to ride flat. Make sure that everything is well oiled and finely tuned so that you're not having to work as hard to move this bike and to maneuver it. And again, that puts less pressure, less work on your quads, your legs, just makes riding a lot smoother for you. So those are my 10 tips. I have to say, I never pegged myself as a bike person until I got my bike and I realized that I loved riding it. It's so much fun, and it can totally be something that you do without having an effect on your body that you don't like. Check out the website www.thighgaphack.com. Subscribe to this channel for more videos coming your way, and be on the lookout for the book, The Oil-Free Diet, coming out in 1 week. All right guys, till next time, bye.